Mr. FEMI Falana, SAN, is now with us. Mr. Falana, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. I can hear you loud. Yeah, thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
Thank you.
Quickly, the extension of the tenure. The extension of the tenure of the Inspector General of Police. Well, some say former Inspector General of Police by 3 months. Is it, as has been argued, illegal and unconstitutional? And if so, how and why?
Well, there's nothing new, you know, in this rush of extensions. President Obasanjo just started the culture of extending the tenure of certain public officers upon the completion of their term of office. It was illegal and remains illegal. Under the Police Act, which has now been repealed, under which Mr. Ibrahim Adamu was appointed as the IGP, the president has the power to appoint an IG once he has consulted with the Nigerian Police Council. He can also not remove the IG without consulting with the body. This time around, as usual, the president never consulted with the Nigerian Police Council, of which is the chair. The 36 governors are members. The Chairman Police Service Commission is a member. The IG is a member. There was no meeting of that body. There was no consultation whatsoever. So that itself questions the removal. Because at the time the president appointed the IG, he had made him to act for a few months. He now called the meeting. This is my candidate for the office of the IG. And the body approved of it. I mean, consulted the body. This time around, there was no consultation. So what is going on is a litany of illegalities. Now, the IG has retired because in accordance with the public service rules, once you clock 60 years or you have put in 35 years, you know, in the public service, you are bound to go. All his colleagues left last week. Now, the president has now extended his tenure by 3 months. In other words, a retired IG is asked to stay on for 3 more months. Again, it's like what happens in the universities. Once you have retired as a professor, like your guest now, you can only be, if there is shortage of staff, you are now employed as a contract staff. You cannot become the vice chancellor. So this is what is going on here. But again, as I said, we started these illegalities in 1999. I think what Nigerians are now saying is that the culture of impunity has to stop. I mean, this was the experience with the service chiefs. Whereas the law requires the president to seek the approval of both chambers of the National Assembly if you are going to appoint military service chiefs. So if you are going to renew the appointment or you now want to extend their tenure, even if it is illegal, you still have to go back to both chambers. Oh, these guys have completed their terms of office. I want to extend, which is like reappointing a minister. You don't simply ask a minister to go on. You still have to return to the Senate for confirmation. And that is the position here. So there is no debate about it. The IG has retired. The president has, from the explanation given by the Minister of Police Affairs, oh, the president would need, 3 months to embark on a search. Of course, you will have expected the president to know that the IG was going to complete his term of office, but that is the explanation that has been given. So I think the 3 months we have been told, are meant to allow the president to embark on a search for a replacement. And I do hope that this will not happen again. Because under the new Police Act 2020, and of course the appointment of Mr. Adamu cannot be with a retrospective effect. I'm talking of the extension. Under the new Police Act 2020, there is no provision for extension. An IG shall be in office for 4 years. And this is meant to guarantee the tenure of the IG. So that is the new situation.
Well, Mr. Falana, a set of questions. One, will it have made a difference if the president had extended the tenure of the IGP before February 1? Because, you know, your principal argument is hinged on the fact that the Inspector General of Police can only be a serving police officer as provided for under Section 216. So if the president had extended that tenure...
Under Section 215. He must be a serving police officer. But if the officer is due to retire, he will go. He will have to go. That's the law. I mean, there is a decision of our courts on this matter where somebody was going to be appointed as a registrar of a university. I think Federal University of Technology, Akure. He had only 4 years to go. And we went to the court. And we approached the court. No, you can only appoint somebody who will spend 5 years in the service. And the court so upheld the argument. That is the law. So once somebody is due to retire, you cannot extend his tenure under the law.
Okay, can the president act in the public interest? Can he give a presidential order and say, I've taken this decision in the public interest? Can he seek justification under that?
Acting under in the public interest or issuing an executive order, you still have to base your decision on law. And as far as the law is concerned, there's no provision under the Police Act or under the Constitution for extended tenure. But you have to locate your action. And that is what constitutional democracy is all about. That's what the rule of law is all about. You must be able to predict at every given time what the position of the law is.
Okay, you refer to the Nigeria Police Council, but that Nigeria Police Council has not met, I guess, since 2015. But isn't the Nigeria Police Council an advisory body? At the end of the day, can the...
No, it's not. It's not an advisory body. It met in, I think, January 2019. That was the last meeting. The body is supposed to meet regularly under Section 159 of the Constitution to perform very serious duties, to administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian police force, advise the president on the removal or appointment of the IG of police. And these are very serious constitutional duties, you know, but the body never meets, and that's why we are calling to the ASCAP has just made a call this afternoon for an urgent meeting of that body so that the security situation, worsening security situation in the country can be addressed by that August body. Because the federal government has proven incapable to address this problem.
Well, is it possible that the president did not seek advice from the Attorney General's office before he took this decision? Because you've been quoted somewhere saying, look, the media is always coming to people outside government to raise questions. That why don't we ask the Attorney General of the Federation? Because the presidency has been very clear on this matter. Their initial reaction was that what the president has done is constitutional. And I'm aware that, you know, at least one person has gone to court. Maxwell Okpara, I think that's the name of the legal practitioner. How do you think this matter can be resolved? Do we need to test all the relevant sections of the law that people have been quoting, all the way to the Supreme Court?
No. I think what is important is for the government to consult, even within the government. I mean, this regime has more than any regime, more lawyers than any regime. And so you must try and take some of them into confidence when you are dealing with the question of law. And I have advised publicly, you know, that the regime, because of the serial embarrassment since 2015, whereby all manners of people are appointed, including dead people, you know, the government must now set up a committee to ensure that before announcements are made, you must go through the entire gamut, you know, of investigation so that the government and the people of Nigeria will not be taken unawares. In the case of the service chiefs, that was when I challenged the media. Why are you asking me? Go and ask the appropriate people in the government. Because if you are going to appoint, because the media reported, oh, new service chiefs have been appointed. I said, no, they have only been nominated as far as the case of Festus Keyamo and the president is concerned. So, since there is a serving minister who had dragged a previous regime to court in this matter, you will have expected that his advice would be sought so that the government will have been properly guided. So when I first spoke about this, I was told that, oh, no, you haven't read your law. Under the Constitution, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. By the way, who is arguing that? But there is a decision of our court on the way and manner you can appoint service chiefs, military service chiefs. The same thing with the police. So you must follow the law rigorously all the time if you want to run a democratic government. Under a military regime, oh yes, everything was in the public interest. Whatever the dictator did was in the public interest. But we are now running a supposedly democratic government that requires that all actions, be taken in accordance with the law.
Well, Mr. Falana, somebody sent me a text message saying that you once advised the federal government of Nigeria, well, you are here, so you can clarify it, about the powers of the president to make appointments under Section 171 of the Constitution. And the person is saying, well, are you now shifting your position? Are you reviewing that advice that person is referring to?
No. What I did say then was that under Section 171 of the Constitution, the president can appoint certain officers in acting capacities. That is different from what is going on here. We're not talking of extension. We are talking of whether the president can appoint heads of certain parastatals in acting capacities. And this is clear under that section as well as under Section 11 of the Interpretation Act. So I haven't shifted my position because this is the law. I didn't write the law.
Okay, I take you back to 2020. I think it was in February 2020 when you publicly denounced the decision of the president to extend the tenure of the service chiefs. And at that time, you even referred to a case that was already in court to challenge the president. But nothing happened. Nothing happened. At the end of the day, the service chiefs were told left when they chose to leave because we were told they tendered their letters of resignation. In the case of the Inspector General of Police, who faces a similar scenario, are you certain that after 3 months, the president will not even still come around and say, stay there for another 1 year, and nothing will perhaps happen?
No, I think this time around we're challenging the appropriate authority. I'm talking of the Nigerian Police Council. I do hope that when that body meets as soon as possible, because we have a case in court to compel that body to meet to discuss the security situation in the country. And the case is going to come up before the end of this month. So I do hope that the law will be well spelled out, because we have, as I did say earlier, this illegality commenced in 1999, and we haven't really come out of it. And so we need definitive pronouncements of our court, and where the courts have made pronouncement, and there was no appeal. Like in the case of Festus Keyamo and the president, there was no appeal. So that remains the law of the country. And that was why the president, after consulting, rather belatedly, now decided we are sending letters to the National Assembly in line with the decision of the court in the case I cited earlier. Yeah.
Yes, Festus
So
Keyamo.
we're learning. I mean, but we can avoid some of these embarrassing situations.
Well, but the federal government, the presidency, with regard to the service chiefs, now sending a letter and asking for expeditious consideration for the nomination of those former service chiefs as ambassadors. Are you satisfied with the step that the federal government took? You having argued that the appointment at the time it was made was inchoate.
Yeah, it's still inchoate. Remains inchoate. Writing a letter now is rather too late. I mean, because you can't have such approval retrospectively. But I think, it's, again, as I did point out, an error has been made. I think it will not repeat itself. And the regime has now said, oh, we are now ready to comply with the law, and as decided by the case of Festus Keyamo and the president. I do hope that this kind of avoidable mistake will not reoccur in future.
Well,
so we're learning, and that is the beauty of, democracy. People must have a firm position. Don't just criticize the government for the sake of it. Let us, where the law is clear, refer to the law. Where the courts have given decision, let's know the position of the law. That's it.
Well, many Nigerians are of the view that the right place for the former service chiefs to go is to go and answer questions at the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. But Garuba Shehu has issued a statement on behalf of the presidency to say that, in fact, on the contrary, those former service chiefs have been rewarded for hard work and for their patriotism. Do you share that view?
No, that is the position of the government. But again, I think I was listening to your program initially. That was not the reason for the appointment. I've been informed, that there is a move to clothe these former service chiefs with immunity. But as far as international law is concerned, when it comes to crimes against humanity, genocidal acts or war crimes or aggression, there is no immunity any longer by virtue of Article 27 of the Rome Statute. As a matter of fact, the president that makes an appointment, the president that appoints an ambassador, he himself doesn't enjoy sovereign immunity. I mean, I'm sure you could remember the case of President Omar Bashir. I mean, there was a time he came to Abuja for a meeting. As soon as he learned that we had gone to court, to ask for his arrest, he vamoosed. He also went to South Africa for an AU conference. As soon as a judgment was delivered that the government of South Africa had to arrest him, again, he ran out of the country, until the law caught up with him in his own country. So this, again, international law is so clear on this matter. You cannot appoint somebody an ambassador and believe that, crimes against humanity or allegations of crimes against humanity will be swept under the carpet. No, we've left that stage.
Well, Mr. Falana, could it be that, yes, I mean, the point is clear about whether immunity applies in that regard or not, but could it be that this is a strategic move on the part of the president? Security being a major concern, and these are retired service chiefs who have been security chiefs in Nigeria. And we have neighbors, we have multinational joint task force, we have, borders with some of our neighbors. Maybe perhaps he wants to use them in some strategic positions to enhance security or international cooperation. Since not too long ago, he talked about international cooperation. Who is the best person to send other than somebody who has been working in that particular area?
Well, Ruben, you are a lawyer. You shouldn't engage in speculation. I deal with evidence, with facts as they are presented. I am not in a position to speculate, whether they are going to be posted to Togo, Chad, Benin, and Cameroon. No, I'm not in a position to say that. But they could still have been, they could still have given their advice in other capacities, other than sending them abroad, to represent the country, because international diplomacy has gone beyond rewarding people. There is some requirement of expertise in this age and time, because the world is competing, countries are competing, and you must have competent people in the Committee of Nations if you want to secure some advantage for your country. And so that is why we must look for competent people, competent diplomats who can represent the country very well.
Well, Mr. Falana, I would like to stretch the conversation a little bit to talk about the security situation in the country, particularly the conflict between herders and farmers and communities, particularly in the Southwest, where most recently we had cases in Oyo State, Ogun State, and also Ondo State, with Governor Akeredolu giving directives that certain persons should vacate the forest reserves. And then the emergence of non-state actors like Sunday Igboho, Sunday Adeyemo, to give his correct name. What's your take on this? You are a major stakeholder in the southwestern part of Nigeria.
Well, this is an unfortunate situation, avoidable tragedy. And if care is not taken, like Professor Wole Soyinka has just warned, we might be going to another civil war, which should be very dangerous for the country, for the continent, and for the black race, because this is the largest concentration of black people on earth. And so we have to get the government to be responsible. We didn't vote for non-state actors. People voted for people in power. And so they must take the security of Nigeria very seriously, in accordance with Section 14, subsection 2, subsection B, that provides that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Once the government has failed to address the security and welfare of the people, that government is no longer fit to remain in office. In this particular instance, Governor Akeredolu did give a deadline for people who were on government reserves without authorization. And I remember I did come out, I came out to say, by virtue of Section 42 of the Forestry Law of Ondo State, if you trespass on, I was reacting to what I call premature ejaculation of the presidency without looking at what has happened. Oh, Mr. Gabasheo was accusing the governor of all manners of, crimes. Oh, you cannot do that. I said, but look at the law. In fact, there is no fine. It's 5 years imprisonment if you trespass on government reserve in Ondo State, by virtue of their own law. Now, coming to Oyo State and other places, and again I've said this publicly, because of failure of leadership, the Sunday Adeyemos of this world have emerged. Because at any stage in the history of man, you may push people to take actions outside the four corners of the law, or rather within the ambit of the law. And that is what happened. And I did say, right, while I will never support anybody, any non-state actor, giving a quick notice, or even governments, ejecting people without following due process. I also warned the police not to arrest him, because others who had given quick notices in the past were not arrested. But I have been very consistent on this matter. When the Lagos State government, I think in 2012, deported beggars and destitute, from Lagos and dumped them in Molete, in Ibadan, in Anambra, Oka, in Anambra. I said, no, you can't do it. When a young man threatened the Igbo people in the north, he gave them 1 week notice. I said, no, you can't do it. When some people threatened Bishop Kuka recently for criticizing the Buhari regime, that he must leave Sokoto, I said, no, you cannot do so. And for the same reason, I have also said, oh, Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, a.k.a. Igboho, much as I can understand the frustration, this matter can also be handled, in another manner, but don't arrest, because if you arrest him, then you are bound to arrest all those who have given quick notices in the past. But talking very seriously about security of our country, the government in power must be held accountable. And I have suggested, whenever anybody is kidnapped in our country, the government must refund the ransom paid by the members of the family of kidnapped people. If anybody is killed in the process, the government must pay colossal compensation. And there are decisions of the court on this matter, because the government is set up to secure the life and property of everybody in Nigeria, not just Nigerians, including foreigners who are visiting our country or who reside in our country. This time around, I have advocated and ASCAP has called for an urgent meeting of the Nigerian Police Council so that the president can have the benefit of informed positions of what happened in each of the state of the country, since the 36 governors, state governors, are members of the Nigerian Police Council. Furthermore, and this is why all the blame should not go to the federal government. From time to time, police commissioners parade suspects, ritual murder suspects, kidnap suspects, armed robbery suspects, and the rest of them. They are regularly paraded, albeit illegally. But what you expect in any country where the rule of law reigns supreme is for the attorneys general, state attorneys general, to call the commissioners of police. You have just paraded some criminal suspect. Can I have their case filed because you want to go to court? But what happens in our country? You now have a case where the police engage in extrajudicial killings of suspects. And this is very dangerous for any country that is talking about law and order, because they are never taken to court. And because nobody is learning any lesson, these cases do not serve as a deterrent to others. The crime continues. So, and that is why we have to get our attorneys general to take control of law and order in each state of the country. Furthermore, the governors in each of the states, I mean all the states, are the chief security officers. They are the chair. They share the meetings of the Security Council in the state. The commissioner of police must be a member. The director of the state security service must be a member. The commander of, military forces in that state must, commanders must be members. So why is it that our governors are not taking full control of the security apparatus in the states and ensure that the lives and properties of people are protected?
Well, so you probably recommend state police then, Mr. Falana.
Well, you already have state police in it. You already have state police in Nigeria. You have the GTF in Borno State, in the northeast region. Some of them are armed. You have ISBA in the northwest. You have vigilante groups in many parts of the country. You now have Amoteku in the southwest. And again, as I've said publicly, you cannot expect young men and women to go out there and confront people who are armed with AK-47 and other dangerous weapons with their bare hands. So the question of arming them, the question of providing arms and ammunition for them, you cannot run away from that. And I have said again, if I can, Ruben, they won't give me a license. But Ruben, Dr. Ruben Abati, you can apply to the IG that you want a license to bear arms to protect yourself and your family members. So if that can happen, I have advocated that it should be possible for the governor of Lagos State to apply to the federal government. Can I have 10,000 licenses for young men and women to bear arms in Lagos to protect the lives and properties of over 20 million people? If you say no, that is discriminatory and illegal, because you can't restrict bearing of arms to a few people while the rest of us, while our own lives are in danger. So our governors must be up and must address the question of insecurity once and for all. And they have to be innovative this time around. And of course, we need to acquire gadgets, modern gadgets, because security now is about tools, it's about technology. You can stay in Lagos as a police officer without, wasting time and resources on highway by asking men to go and take over Ibadan Road. While you are somewhere in Ojota, you can, with technology deployed, a police officer may know which vehicle is carrying dangerous weapons. So we must, or with drones now, you can also capture the criminal activities that are going on in all those forests that we're talking about. So we must engage in modern governance. I mean, again, look at the question of ranching. How can, for goodness sake, Ruben, how can, in this age and time, 2021, how can a country with enormous resources like our own allow people to bring cattle from Mali or from Sokoto or from Niger, from Maiduguri to Lagos, by foot? No. No. In less endowed countries in Africa, Botswana, Kenya, Namibia, Ethiopia, this matter has been solved with the establishment of ranches. In our own country, we had ranches in the 50s. And that's why I'm challenging the governors, the governments in the Southwest. In the 50s, the Awolowo regime had ranches in Shaki in Oyo State, in Ikun in Ekiti State, in Akunu in Ondo State. Even today, Ruben, today, the entire meat sold in about 25 branches of ShopRite all over the country. The entire meat is produced in the kennel here and then transported all over the country. So we can embark on modern animal husbandry without causing civil strife, as it is the case in our country now. So whether the government likes it or not, and we must take the challenge of the governor of Kano State very seriously. This is about the third time Dr. Gandrije has said, please let us go and establish ranches. We have them in Kano. Under the Gowon regime, the Audu Bako, the governor of Kano State, Audu Bako, had the best ranches in the country. We must go and revive those ranches and ensure that we put the headers and those who want to engage in animal husbandry, we must put them in the ranches. In the ranches, they will have schools for their children. Some people will plant grass, some will supply water, some will produce meat. So you're also creating thousands of jobs without, people going all over the place, seizing farmlands, committing rape, and killing people.
Well, Mr. Falana,
the regime is incapable to solve the problem. The regime cannot solve the problem. So you need the Nigerian Police Council, where the governors can let the president know we are facing a lot of crises in our states.
Mr. Falana, you are the leader or the chairperson of a body you've referred to here twice, the Alliance on Surviving COVID and Beyond. Now, what's the position of that alliance on how so far Nigeria has been managing the COVID pandemic crisis that we face, either in terms of getting vaccines or putting a national vaccination program in place, or even in terms of the synergy between states and the federal government agencies in charge?
The management of the crisis has been very disappointing, and we have made suggestions now that we're in trouble again with, vaccines, obtaining vaccines. I mean, you can imagine when they were talking of privatization, the Babangida junta abandoned the vaccination center in Yaba. So we're in trouble now. So the government is being forced now to revive the center so that we can produce vaccines in our country. But the embarrassment for us as a people is that Nigeria has trained many health professionals, but our government simply turned the other eye when other countries are taking them away. So today, if Nigerian doctors go on strike in the United States of America or in Britain, there will be crisis there, So they have left here. What do we do? Is to take advantage of this crisis to revitalize the comatose health sector so that we can really address common ailments. I mean, you can just imagine a tiny country like Cuba, the island of Cuba of 12 million people. Cuba is going to supply, I think with effect from April, 100 million vaccines free of charge. Because that country invests in health and education since the days of Fidel Castro. That country today has doctors and other health professionals in about 32 countries in the world attacking this pandemic. In fact, even a first world country, a member of the G7, Cuba had gone to Italy to help combat the crisis. Cuba is in South Africa. Cuba is even in Togo here. When we had Ebola in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, it was Cuba that saved Africa. So we must now take advantage of countries, we must learn from countries that are addressing avoidable health challenges. Cuba abolished malaria in 1967, abolished. Not having mosquito nets, and deceiving yourself. Because the West insists, you must go and get mosquito nets, you must go and get other things. Cuba abolished malaria, and we can do so because Cuba is in the tropics, just like Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. FEMI Falana, SAN, for joining us on This Day Live, this Sunday talk show. Thank you very much indeed for your insights.